Today's video is looking at a front-facing basket arrangement. I've not done one of these before, so come and join me and learn how to create a fabulous floral design. Now, what am I creating today? Well, I'm going to be making a basket arrangement. It's a design that I get asked for quite a lot. And I'm not sure if a basket arrangement is still used a great deal, but I get asked for it over and over again. It is apparently coming back in a big way for wedding flowers, where the bridesmaids carry a very attractive modern sort of willow bag. So keep a lookout for that one. I'm going to be using this rectangular container. It's a plastic lined. I don't see a great deal of baskets at the wholesalers these days, so this one is quite old. And it's probably about the same size as a block of foam, but I don't need to have a full block in this arrangement. Half is quite sufficient. And in the bottom there, I've already put a plastic frog, because that tends to help prevent the foam from sliding back and forth. And I'm going to put my foam in the middle of the container and bring some tape over the front as well. Now, it doesn't give me a great deal of space at the side in that position there, but it does give me ample space on the top to arrange my flowers into. So at this stage, what you really need to consider is, am I doing a flat, almost like a posy style arrangement, or am I going to do something where I need to bring some foliage out at the side? And the style of basket that I want to do today is going to be front facing. So all the flowers are going to be facing forward. So therefore I feel I need to have that extra space on the side so that I can bring some flower material out at the side. So what I'm going to do is turn that around and put it in that position. Now I've raised up the sides of my foam, which means I can get some flowers in on either side. Now that means the floral foam is a bit unstable, so what I'm going to do is wedge a small piece of foam there at the front and a small piece at the back, and that just gives it that extra bit of stability. A wider piece there at the front and just a small slither in the back. Also, that will give me a little more foam to arrange my flowers into. Don't forget that if you are making this for a gift for somebody, I would check first of all that that plastic liner is watertight. You won't believe the amount of times I've made a basket of flowers thinking that the waterproof lining on the bottom is okay. And sometimes, particularly if it's stored in an area where there's a lot of sunshine, that plastic liner tends to perish. So if you're a bit concerned, double line it with some cellophane or a plastic bag. And if you really wanted to do this in a foam-free manner, then you would need to find a plastic dish to fit in there that would be deep enough to hold a considerable amount of water to keep your flowers fresh. And then you could use some wire netting to hold your flowers into position. But for today, I'm going to be using floral foam, and I'm going to be bringing some tape just around my handle for security and around the handle at the front and back, and finish at the back. And what I will do at some stage during the construction is add a bow on the front there, which is going to help hide that ugly piece of tape. It might work with just some foliage, but my plan is, if I remember, is to add in some yellow ribbon. And I mentioned that this arrangement is front facing. That means is the back of the arrangement, just like a triangle or an L-shaped arrangement, the back of the arrangement is less significant and all the flowers are facing in one direction. So it's a great one for displaying somewhere. It would be fantastic for harvest if you're thinking of doing that rustic sort of countryside feel. And this is a great design for incorporating a gift. So you could sit a bottle of wine or a box of chocolates on one side, or for harvest you could display some fruits and vegetables, which would look particularly attractive. Now that I have the height in my foam, it means I can bring some material out to the side. Previously, if I'd have kept that foam flat, I would have only been able to come up and create more of a posy style arrangement. This video today should be a Sunday video, and there will be a Tuesday video which is aimed more at beginners. I'll link it here in the cards and you can have a look at that one. because I'm going to do a more round style arrangement, more like a posy in a basket as well. So you get to see two different styles. Now what I want to do is bring some of my greenery up at the back, and I've got first of all this Weigelia or Weigela, I never know which way you pronounce it. This is a florist bought Weigelia. This is from the wholesalers, but this is a really easy one to grow in the UK. And just to give me height, I'm looking to go about 1.5 times the length of my container. The length is longer than the width, and that's going to sit quite nicely towards the back of my foam. Remember, if it's a front facing design, you need to start towards the back. It's no good starting your arrangement all the way to the front, because then you won't have any room for your flowers. So approximately 2/3 of the way back. And I'm thinking for the choice of flowers that I've got, that I might have cut that one a little too short. So I'm going to go a bit higher with another piece. And that will draw your eye slightly upwards. Because there's a wide base to the design, you need to draw your eye upwards, otherwise the bottom part of the arrangement will be quite top heavy. And then with these little bits that are left over, I'll use these just on the left and the right, not in a particularly perfect mirror image, but just so that that colour is brought through on both sides as well, rather than it being at the top and not introduced anywhere else into the arrangement. And then to give me my sides, so I'm going to go roughly half of the height on the side. So if you think from the middle, I'm going to come out to about here, and I'm going to use some garden greenery for that one. And you'll probably all recognise this, particularly if you enjoy cookery, because this is bay, and bay is a great one for floral design. It's a fab one to have in the garden, because you'll be able to use it in cooking as well as floral design. And then I'm going to bring two sort of pieces, roughly the same height, out on either side. And again, you're backwards in the foam. You're not bringing your flowers forward or your foliages forward. You need to stay backwards in the foam. This side is too short. It's not quite as long as that one. So I need to find myself a longer piece. Hopefully that is going to work. So we've essentially, if you think about what I've done, we've created a triangle. And this is why I often say it's important to learn the basics, because if you learn the basics, those basic shapes that we learn really get carried through to different types of arrangements. If you can do a posy, you can do a basket. If you can do a posy, you can do a hat box. If you can do a triangle, then you can do a front-facing arrangement like this. Because really speaking, it's exactly the same thing. It's a design that has that triangular outline. And this one is not looking particularly healthy on the top. So I'm going to chop that top bit off. And I'm going to add this in at the back. That gives you that depth that you hear me talk about over and over and over again. I'm sure you're sitting at home saying, oh, here she goes again. She's talking about the depth. And then with the shorter pieces that are left on the branch of the bay, I'm going to bring these more in towards the middle. And sometimes I prefer to get an outline shape in. Today is one of those designs, and sometimes I prefer to put my focal flowers in. But I'm almost creating that outline of a triangle before I start. If I bring my hands down from the top to the bottom, you can see where the areas are that need filling in. And what I do here in the studio, when I'm teaching here in the studio, is I almost hold up, well, I don't almost, I do. I hold up a yellow stick from here to here, and that helps highlight that outline shape. And you can see I need something here and something here. And I'm going to achieve that by using some camellia. Now I've used 3 different types of foliage in this arrangement. If you haven't got any greenery, if you struggle with greenery, just try and get hold of one type. You don't have to be as adventurous as I am. But where I live, it's quite easy for us to get hold of greenery. And as a commercial florist, of course, I can buy it as well. So what we're looking to do is to create a bit of a triangle, but without making it too perfect on either side. I don't want too much of a perfect symmetrical triangle. A looser design is what I'm aiming for today, because the flowers that I've got with me today don't really suit a formal pattern. I've got some sunflowers, some helenium, and that really suits a more informal country style of arrangement. And I think that is pretty much done. It's a fairly good shape. I've got a good distribution of all of my different foliages coming from front to back. And I've got a good mixture of greenery throughout the arrangement, nice bit of variegation. And I probably have quite neatly covered that floral tape at the front, but I'm still going to put in my bow somewhere during this video tutorial. And just at the back, I'm going to pop in some shorter pieces of the foliage so that my foam is completely covered. And to go in the centre to create a stronger focal point, I've been really desperate to use these for a while, and these are from my neighbour's garden. If you're not quite sure what that is, and you don't recognise it when you look at it from the back, this is magnolia, and it's such an amazing colour. That rich sort of brown on the back and then a limey sort of green on the front. I think personally this needs a bit of a feed because it's normally a much darker green. But what I'm going to do is cut off a few of the base leaves so I can use them so that you can see that brownish colour on the bottom. This pick up nicely with the colour of my basket, and that gives a stronger focal point there at the front. I don't want to bring it up high because it's a really big leaf. It's too big for this type of arrangement, but just a little bit of that colour peeking through matches the colour of my container and will help blend in with the yellow tones that I'm using today. At this stage we've created an outline exactly like a triangle, but without it being perfectly symmetrical on both sides and not matching like it's a mirror image. Now the first flower that I'm going to pop in today is the sunflower. It is pretty much sunflower season. We're late summer, start of the autumn. If you've used sunflowers before, the foliage isn't great for lasting, and I'm going to get these in so that one of them is nice and tall up at the back, and I've started with that smaller sunflower head. Get it quite deep into the foam because sunflowers are thirsty flowers and they need to have access to the water, and that reinforces the height. And then I'm going to bring that focal line down through the front using the middle-sized flower next. Let's get rid of all this greenery again. And my middle-size sunflower can come on the opposite side of that handle. Now we're not going to be using the handle for a practical use. I'm not going to be carrying it by the handle, and we're not presenting the flowers to everybody. So we don't have to keep that handle free. If you joined me for a basket a month or so ago that was low and flat, that was created for presentation and we needed to have room to pick up the handle. We don't need to do that in this design. And then right at the bottom is going to be that larger sunflower, which is going to help strengthen the focal point, which is towards the bottom. And we've got bigger and bigger as we've come down towards the base, which is the better way of arranging flowers because it creates rhythm and eye movement. Now, if you haven't been here before, then my name is Sharon. Welcome to the channel. If you've got any requests for the videos, then you can pop it in the comment box below the video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then this is when I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, because it really does help other people find us. It doesn't cost anything. I'm not going to track you or look for you. It just means that YouTube know that you're enjoying the tutorials, and you can share it with as many people as you want. If you're in a flower club or a gardening club, let them know that they need to come along and join in these fantastic tutorials. And I love to hear where you're watching me from. It just amazes me how many countries people are tuning in from. Before I talk anymore, let's have a look at the rose placement. So again, I've started it high and bringing it down towards the bottom so that we meet the focal point at the base. I've got 5 roses. This is buttercup. This is like garden rose. It opens up, but it's quite floppy. It's got a beautiful shape to it. And I love the colour. The colour is very soft and sort of summery, moving into those autumn shades. Now I've got a bit of that focal line down towards the front, I can branch the colour off to either side, remembering that I don't need to put any flowers at the back because this is a front facing arrangement and the focus is on the front. So with 2 more of the roses, I'm going to come off to the side. The greenery has formed the outline, so my flowers now stay within that outline. We don't put anything wider than the greenery. The greenery is there to protect your flowers. If anything gets knocked or damaged, then it will damage the foliage first and not your flowers. And hopefully you can now see that more triangular shape starting to take place. I've got 2 types of flowers. I've got Amimajus, which is really easy to grow in the garden, and a flower that I don't use a great deal of. This one is Helenium. This is another one that will grow quite successfully in a British garden, and it tends to flower late summer, early autumn. You can also get it in a nice rich orange. But they're my next 2 flowers to place in. And I've got 3 of the, I keep forgetting its name. This is Amimajus. I keep going to call it Alchemilla mollis, but this is Amimajus, or Queen Anne's lace. You probably know it by its common name. And I'm going to start it up quite high, and I'm going to help strengthen again that focal line down through the middle by using it down through the middle. You could, because it's nice and light and airy, you could add it in at the side, but I feel that we need it here, more towards the middle. And then this final one can just drape down really nicely over the front of the basket. And now I'm thinking I don't need that yellow bow, but I've got to find somewhere for it. So that's where we're up to now. And the Helenium, the yellow Helenium, is going to come in really well for filling in the gaps. So it's almost like a filler flower. So we have our primary focal flowers, then we have our secondary flowers or our filler flowers that pull everything together and to create that finished design. What I'll do with the beds, as there's lots of little beds, I'm going to use these on the end alongside the greenery to strengthen that outline. I can use them on both sides, remove any greenery that's a bit scruffy, and try and keep within the greenery outline that you've already created. We don't want to go too wide with it. And with the ones that are more open, so this little one here is going to work nicely up at the height of my arrangement because it's a nice small bed and it's going to really complement the top part of my arrangement. And then I'm going to keep dotting them throughout the arrangement so that we're spreading out that soft colour throughout the arrangement. Now we don't want to put the big focal flowers on the edge because the visual balance won't be right. The smaller flowers go towards the outside and the larger flowers towards the middle. And I often equate it, if you're having lessons here with me, I often equate it to your body. You're small, you get bigger, you get bigger, you get bigger to your focal point in the middle. And that's how traditional floral design should be. Small flowers on the outside, small greeneries, softer flowers, and then as you come towards the middle, they get bigger and bigger. You create a much better proportional design. And if you struggle with a lot of the terminology that I use in these videos, I often relate back to the principles and elements of design, which most good florists will be able to recite to you. If you're struggling to understand, then pop over to the website. I can link the address at the bottom here, and there's a really helpful elements and principles guide over there that you can purchase. And there's also a care and conditioning guide telling you how to look after your cut flowers. And it's an invaluable resource if you're, oh, I nearly threw that out then. It's an invaluable resource if you're learning floral design, because there are so many hints and tips on there on how to care for your cut flowers. Now I did plan on finishing the arrangement as it was there, with mainly using those yellow colours, but what I've got in the garden at the moment is the amazing chocolate cosmos, And what I thought this did was picked up on that centre colour of the sunflower. You could quite easily leave it as it is with just the yellow, but being that I wanted to make quite a soft, floaty, sort of whimsical design, something that's not too controlled and is much more lightweight looking, I thought the chocolate cosmos would really complement the centre of that sunflower. And I'm almost going to cluster these together in little groups. Again, I want a nice soft look, nothing that's too visually heavy. And these I bought as a plant, a set of plants from my local wholesaler, and they have flowered and flowered and flowered. So next year I shall be back for more because they've been really good value for money. I will attempt to grow some from seed, but I don't know how successful I'm going to be with that. So we're just about finishing off with bringing that lovely darker, almost like a rich burgundy red colour. I suppose it's a chocolate colour as well. That nice rich colour. It's a nice contrast against the yellow. And because it's a nice lightweight flower, it gives that really whimsical look. By adding small flowers like this, it tends to make the arrangement a lot more informal. So informal is when you have less structure, not so much control in the placements of the flowers. If you haven't got chocolate cosmos, think about spray carnations or a spray rose, something that's quite light and airy, because it's going to help give you that nice finished look. And that is my last two cosmos popping in there at the front. And instead of putting the bow on the handle like I originally planned, I'm going to place it onto a wire, or I have already placed it onto a wire, and I'm going to sit it in this sort of section underneath here, just so that little bow isn't quite as hidden in the design. I've nestled it slightly in amongst the flowers so it doesn't look like an afterthought, but isn't that a gorgeous design? So a front-facing basket with flowers that you typically see in the end of the summer and the start of the autumn. I hope you've enjoyed that one as much as I have. Thanks as ever for watching. Please subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment in the box below, and I look forward to seeing you for our next tutorial. There's one on a Tuesday, one on a Friday once a month, and don't forget our main video on a Sunday afternoon. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again. Bye for now.